Hello and welcome to a very spooky episode of REELdemption. I'm your host, Zack. This is the show where I'm revisiting movies that I used to hate, giving them a second chance at redemption, or in this case, REELdemption. It's the spookiest time of the year, the best time of the year if you ask me. Today on the show, we're celebrating with our very first double feature, a creature feature, if you will. We'll be discussing The Lost Boys, which came out in 1987, directed by Joel Schumacher, as well as Van Helsing, which came out in 2004, directed by Stephen Sommers. Let's get started with The Lost Boys. So here's what I remember about The Lost Boys the last time I watched it. I watched this for the first time in my teenage years. I had heard it was a vampire classic and was expecting a big-time action movie. I don't remember much happening in this movie. I do, however, remember being really bored. From what I remember about the plot, there are three brothers, the Frog Brothers, and the eldest brother joins a vampire gang. And this vamp gang, oh, they're nasty. They're like smoking cigarettes, jaywalking, staying out past 10 on a school night, just really bad behavior. The bad vamps are led by 80s Kiefer Sutherland, and he's got it all. The leather jacket, the earring, the blonde mullet, the whole 80s vampire package. So the eldest frog bro joins the vamp gang, and the remaining frog bros try to save their brother. I remember I was expecting a big final showdown at the end, but instead the Frog Bros just let sunlight into the gang's crypt and it burns all the vampires. Pretty lame, pretty disappointing finale. I think the eldest Frog Bro does become a vampire, I could be mistaken, but he definitely doesn't appreciate his younger brothers embarrassing him in front of his cool new friends. I just remember feeling underwhelmed and left wondering why so many people like this movie. So I rewatched The Lost Boys, and here are present-day Zack's new opinions. First of all, I have a few things to correct. Turns out there aren't three Frog Brothers, there are two Frog Brothers and two other brothers, Michael and Sam. I had somehow combined them all in my head and forgotten one completely, so already we're off to a great start. This movie is bizarre. It kind of feels like an 80s music video montage. It does take a little while to settle in and get going, but when it hits hard. It's a lot funnier than I remembered. It's completely absurd, but the actors play it straight, making for a unique but delightful experience. The Frog Bros are deadly serious comic book nerds. I found them off-putting at first, but again, once I understood the vibe of this movie, I quickly settled in and enjoyed.
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
I don't think I ever saw the ending, because I was right about the boys trying to kill the vamps while they slept, but I remember that being the ending. That event just sets up the third act, and the third act is amazing. It's wild, it's campy, it's fun. Vampires get killed in hilarious and incredible ways. It kind of reminded me of Home Alone mixed with Evil Dead 2. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The third act really sells the absurdity of this movie. I had a blast watching The Lost Boys. Oh, and Michael is actually a half vampire and is able to be saved at the end. Also worth noting, when Bill S. Preston Vampire is staked, he sprays blood all over the boys, which sparkles in the sunlight. So the Lost Boys did sparkly vampires long before Twilight. Take that for what it's worth. So, has this film been REELdeemed? Yes, it absolutely has. It's still so strange to me I have no memory of the final third act, because that's what really sold the movie for me. That's what I really loved about this movie. It's fun, it's funny, it's campy. The makeup effects on the vampires look incredible. The vampires die in amazing ways. Yeah, I had a great time watching this movie. Definitely gets a pass from me. Okay, let's move on to Van Helsing. Here's what past Zack remembers about Van Helsing. I believe I was in my late teens, early adulthood when I finally saw this. I remember thinking this movie was just so stupid and nonsensical. I was legit mad at how bad it was. I wasn't expecting Van Helsing to be a cinematic masterpiece, okay? But you have Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale fighting monsters. At the very least, it should have been an entertaining monster movie. That's a low bar this film had to climb over, and it couldn't even do that. It was boring, with bad fight scenes full of awful CGI. I mean, just laughably bad CGI. And you might say, well, Zack, this was the early 2000s, technology wasn't the best. To which I say, Spider-Man 2 came out the exact same year, and it still looks amazing, so I don't want to hear it. The only part I remember is at the very end. Hugh Jackman turns into a CGI werewolf and fights another CGI werewolf, and he ends up killing Kate Beckinsale in the process. The end. That's it. That's the movie. I just hope revisiting this movie, it'll at least be so bad it's good, so I can get some sort of sick enjoyment from it, because past Zack certainly did not. So I rewatched Van Helsing, and here are my current opinions on it. I definitely wasn't as mad watching Van Helsing this time around. There were even a few parts that I liked, such as the beginning with the classic Universal Monsters throwback, the scene where the lady vampires attack the town, and that was about it. This film was just a big goofy cartoon. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't like it either. It's long. It's way too long. Messy plot that still gets pretty boring at times. The CGI is still horrible, especially the werewolves. They definitely are the worst looking of the monsters. Most of the scenes have horrible CGI backgrounds. It's just jarring how bad the CGI is. The big bad of the film, Dracula, isn't scary. He's just a big doofus. I hated how he was portrayed in this movie. Frankenstein's monster is in this. I like how he spoke, more in line with the character from the book.
Oh my god. The Frankenstein monster!
Monster! Who's the monster here?
But he was mainly there just to be a damsel in distress, in need of rescue from the hero. The plot basically boils down to this. Dracula wants to use Frankenstein's monster to give life to his vampire babies. And there's some stuff about Kate Beckinsale's family, because, yeah, she's in this too. Hugh Jackman does become a werewolf, I got that part right, but he fights Dracula at the end, not another werewolf. Apparently, I cannot for the life of me remember how movies end. If I had a nickel for every time Hugh Jackman played a rugged badass who lost his memory, fights mutants, and ends up killing his love interest, I would have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Oh, and at the end, there's a giant Kate Beckinsale face in the sky that made me laugh so hard I couldn't stand it. I just wanted you to experience that with me. Like I said, it's a big old dumb live-action cartoon that takes itself way too serious. It's not as much fun as I wanted it to be. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not so bad it's good. It's just pretty mediocre, which was disappointing. But has it been REELdeemed? Well, I certainly didn't hate it as much this time around, but it certainly didn't win me over. I have no desire to watch it again. I'll probably forget about it as soon as I get this video out. Except for that Kate Beckinsale face. That's going to haunt me to the day I die. So no, this film has not been REELdeemed in my eyes. But that's just my opinion. If you like Van Helsing, that's great. I really wanted to. But hey, we got one film REELdeemed and one film not, so perfectly balanced as all things should be, right? I will say though, it was fun watching these 2 movies together. So thank you all so much for tuning in to my very first double feature. What's your favorite Halloween movie? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to read your suggestions. Make sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of REELdemption are out every other Friday. Have a very safe and spooky Halloween. I'll see you next time at the movies.